Most people view client onboarding as admin. It's actually the first major deliverable. This is where clients first realize that working with you is either going to be a smooth, organized process or slow and painful. And when onboarding is done properly, it eliminates weeks of back and forth emails and turns kickoff into something that can happen in minutes. In this video, I'm going to show you how to do client onboarding the right way using Asana. And if you're new to Asana, or maybe you've had Asana for a little while, but you're not getting the most out of it, then book an introductory call with us using the link in the description below. We've worked with loads of client-facing businesses and helped them to streamline processes like client onboarding by getting more out of this very powerful tool. But first, let's get into this video. For this example, let's pretend I run a digital web design agency and we build websites for clients. And so I'm going to use Asana and I'm going to have a project in Asana for each of the clients or projects that we're working on. So let's set one up. I'm going to come to the create button here and I'm going to start a new blank project from scratch. There are some templates or suggested project layouts you can use. I'm just going to come up here, start with a blank project. Now this blank project, we're actually going to use this to create a template so that we can reuse that template every single time we kick off a new client project. So for now, I'm going to put in a little placeholder piece of text, client name, website, project. I'm going to set this project to be visible to everyone in my Asana demo account, my organization, so that other people on my team can use this. And I'm just going to choose to set up views with the overview. Let's go list, timeline, and we'll do dashboard for now. We'll create that project. So here's my new blank project. Now the first thing I'm going to do to build out this client project is define my sections. Sections are the categories or subcategories within the project, which you can use to outline the stages or phases of a project. So my very first stage actually would be, let's call it stage 1, client onboarding. You know, during the onboarding stage, we need to collect brand assets. Maybe the client needs to complete a survey. We need to get login credentials, that type of thing. That's what we're really going to focus on for this video. But while I'm doing this, I would also build out stages for the other phases of my project. So let's go design planning. We might have another section for stage 3, web development. And then stage 4, we might have website launch. There we go. So those are the major stages or phases of work to get this website built. And within this client onboarding section, this is where I'm going to list the tasks that either I or my team need to complete internally, or this could also be where I create tasks for my client, things we need them to do. And this is where actually you may want to make a decision around, do you want to invite your client into Asana? So I could have tasks for things that my client needs to do. So provide brand assets. They need to provide login credentials to existing website. They need to complete an onboarding survey, maybe because we want to ask them questions about their brand, their product or service that's going to help us with the copy on the website. So those are some tasks that I'm actually going to assign to my client in the future. And then I might have tasks for myself or my team to complete internally as well. Things like book kickoff meeting. We also might need to set up project goals in Asana. That's actually something I'll come back and show you in a minute. We could actually track the success of the project by creating goals and actually linking those to the project once we get going. So I'll set those up there. Now, I'm going to build out the rest of my project now. I mean, we're really focusing on client onboarding for the rest of this video, but this is where you would, if you're going to use a project to manage the entire project, you would fill out the rest of your sections here. So here we go. I've fleshed out the rest of my sections with the tasks that we need to complete for each stage of the project. To take this a step further, what I would also do is create some dependencies between these tasks. So in order to book this kickoff meeting, before we do that meeting, we really do need to have the onboarding survey done. We need to have those brand assets and login credentials. So in the task on the right-hand side here, I could add dependencies. So we could link here, actually there's some suggested tasks. I could link that complete onboarding survey task. So this book kickoff meeting task is blocked by, or I could choose if it's blocking, but it's currently blocked by the onboarding survey. So I can't complete this task until that onboarding survey is done. I could link another task here. So let's say provide login credentials and also provide the brand assets. So each of those three tasks needs to be done first before we can book that kickoff meeting. And this is nice because it actually shows the client, in this case, who's going to be doing those tasks, hey, in order to do that kickoff meeting, you need to provide us with these things first. So it creates a lot more accountability and transparency. You can also see on these tasks, the reciprocal relationship is also visible now. So providing the brand assets is blocking the book kickoff meeting task. So it establishes a very clear relationship between the work. Now, because I'm going to be assigning these tasks to my client to complete, I've provided some additional details or instructions. So I've made it very clear here in the description. Provide us with any brand assets, including your logo pack, brand guidelines, product, and team photos. And I've said where I want them to put them. Add these to the key resources section on the overview page of this project. So the client will click on overview, and down here in key resources, they can simply attach files from their computer or attach from Google Drive, Dropbox, or SharePoint. And that way, rather than me having to dig back through emails to find their logos, by the client uploading them in here, myself and my team, we've got everything we need right in front of us in Asana, ready to go. Now, for this onboarding survey, I could actually use the Forms feature in Asana to make it even easier for the client to provide us with information that we need, because I want them to have a really seamless experience working with us. And so using an Asana form, I think, is a great way to do that. To set up my form, you come to the Customize menu here. Now, this will require you to be on one of the paid Asana subscriptions. You won't be able to do this on the free plan. If you do need help with your Asana subscription, you can request a quote for your licenses from Minaco. We've put a link down in the description below. We can give you the best price on Asana and some complimentary support if you purchase through us. So in this Customize menu, let's go to Forms and let's create an onboarding survey. So I'm going to give this form a name, Client Onboarding Survey. I'm going to ask for the client's name and email address. Actually, we'll put a brief description here. Please complete this form to tell us about your brand and products. I can make this form look pretty by putting a cover image in the top here. But for now, I'm just going to build out all of my questions. And so on the right-hand side here, I can drag in these different question form section types like headings and questions. So we'll say here, first question, brand name. And we can choose what type of question is this. This can be a single option select, but I'm going to make this, we're just going to change this to be a simple text field, and I'm going to make it required. So brand name. For my next question, I'm going to make this again a text field, but we're going to click here to expand and make this a long answer. I'm going to say, tell us about your product or service. And again, we will make that required. So let me skip ahead now, and I'm going to fill in the rest of this survey with all of my required questions. So here we go. I've added some additional questions. I've got a question asking the client to tell me about their ideal client. I've got a multi-select question here asking how customers typically find their website. And this part's really cool. If you click this Add a Branch button, you can add conditional questions. So in this case, I've said if they choose this other option, we come down here and I ask an additional question. How else do customers find your website? And finally, down the bottom, I've put in an attachment upload question where they can upload their logos. So if I actually wanted them to provide their brand assets, their guidelines through this form, I could allow them to do that like so. Now, once you've got your form ready and you've saved it, you can preview the form. You can see what this would look like once it's shared with the customer. You can give it a little test, make sure it works. In the settings here, I've simply said, when this form is filled in, the task that gets created, which is going to have all the responses in it, this task will be created or added to my first section, so that client onboarding section. So the client will fill it in and I will see their responses come directly into Asana, and the task will just simply be named with the form name, Client Onboarding Survey. And I can now share this form with anyone Even a user like my client who's not actually in Asana, if I don't want to invite them, I could copy this link and I could share this onboarding survey directly with the client. In fact, even better would be if I copy this link and then go back to my Asana task, this complete onboarding survey task, I could put the link in here. So I could say client onboarding survey, select that text, and I could put the link behind that text. So now, again, when I assign this task to my client, they look at the task, they click that link, and it takes them straight to the survey. So I'm going to create a really nice, slick, easy experience for my client. I'm curious, if you're working with a contractor, how do you prefer to collaborate? We're actually coincidentally redoing the Minaco website right now, and the developer that we're working with has invited us into their ClickUp account. Now, I would prefer to use Asana, of course, but given the choice, I would prefer to use ClickUp over something like email or Slack, because that way the developer, he has tasked me with what I need to provide so that he can actually do our website, and I find this far more efficient than sending messages or email back and forth. But tell me, what do you prefer? Leave me a comment down below. Now, let me show you a couple of other things you may want to consider if you're going to be onboarding your client into Asana. The first is that you can create these extra tabs along the top where you can provide instructions and manage your project with the client. So I've created a tab called How to Work With Us. On this tab, I've outlined some of our expectations. So I've said, let's communicate in Asana. Please post questions and provide feedback via the comments inside tasks. So if we're talking about this color scheme, we can communicate back and forth here via the comments. And I've said, or you can post general questions in the messages tab, and I've linked to it here. So this messages area, this is where you have more high-level general conversations about the project as a whole, whereas with the tasks, you would comment on specific tasks if you're talking about that specific piece of work. But I think a tab like that with some instructions, so yes, put brand assets in the overview tab, we will assign tasks for you, you can view these on your My Tasks. Something like that, I think, just sets expectations really clearly for a really seamless, fluid and smooth project with a client. And you can add tabs like this to your project by simply clicking the plus button here and adding a new note tab. You can see there are some suggested use cases here. So you could have a tab for managing meeting notes, keeping all of your meetings in one place, or providing background to the project, a place for key resources, weekly planning, and so on. We usually find the thing that slows us down on a project is the client, because we haven't got what we need. Maybe we need feedback on something or email copy for an automation, whatever it might be. If we don't get what we need, we can't continue the work and the project grinds to a halt. And this is why inviting your clients into Asana works so well, is it creates a lot more visibility around who's responsible for what and accountability. And so if the project does come to a halt, you can say to your client, hey, look, we're still waiting on these things. If you can get us this, we can finish the job. We can keep the project moving ahead smoothly, which, let's face it, is better for everyone. Now that my project is ready to go, I've set up all my tasks, my tabs, my customization, I'm going to save this as a template. Again, this is a paid feature, so you will need to be on a paid subscription in order to use templates. So we'll go ahead and just keep the name as is. We will create this template. If this is your first time using templates in Asana, I'll link up here a more detailed video that we have explaining how to use templates. To give you a brief rundown, all my tasks have been copied in, my tabs along the top there are ready to go, and any customization that I've done to the project, including fields, rules, or the forms that I've created, have also been saved. And in my template now, this is where I would pre-assign tasks to people on the team and set my dates. So this book kickoff meeting, this is going to be done by the project manager. Now that's going to be someone different every single time, somebody on my team internally. So for that, I'm going to use a project role to dynamically assign the task. So I can create a role. We can call this project manager, and we can save that role. So now I can say, right, this task here is always done by the project manager, as is this one as well. Whereas these ones here might be done by a different role. Let's create a role for developer. And again, that's going to be someone different every single time. The other thing you can do is if you want a task to always be done by the same person every time, so maybe testing the checkout, for example, let's just say for argument's sake, that's always done by me. That task will always come to me for every single project, whereas this task would go to the developer that I designate. And finally, what I would do here is put in some dates. So I'd say, these first few tasks need to happen one day after the project start date. We want those to get done pretty quickly. And, these ones are going to happen on day 3, day 5, and so on. And so now I'd finish assigning tasks, putting dates in, and my template is ready to go. And now, when I'm ready to create my actual live project with a new client, I would set that up by coming to the Create button, New Project. Instead of starting from a blank project this time, I can use from one of my workflows here, we can see the template that I just saved, and use this template. And I would give this a name, so let's just say Minaco for now. And I would choose my start date, so let's say we're starting on the coming Monday. That means the tasks will have their due date set based on my start date. And I would choose my project manager, so this is going to be Warwick, and my developer, Lindsay Rolls. And now Asana is going to build out my project. Everything that I'd already done previously, the tasks that I've set up, the tabs that I've created, the onboarding survey that I built, has all been now copied into this new project, and my tasks have been assigned to my internal team members. Now, the last thing I would do is I would come in here and I would invite my client. So I would type their email in here, james@clientemail.com. That would invite them as a guest into this particular project. Because they're a guest, they don't require a paid seat. And because I've assigned them these specific tasks, or I've invited them to this one project, they would only see this project. They're not going to see the other projects or the other clients that I'm working with, as long as I haven't invited them to any of those teams, and I just keep the assigned tasks in this one project. I really believe that if you are trying to improve customer satisfaction and make project delivery more efficient, then there is no better way than inviting your clients into Asana to speed up not just the client onboarding process, but the entire project delivery. And when you create a really slick, smooth experience for your clients, that's actually going to translate into happier customers and more repeat business. I hope you found this tutorial useful. If you have any follow-up questions, leave me a comment down below. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.